Husband goes to work earlier than you, you wake up at your time, and when you look next to you, your husband's not there, but he left you a rose. And you're like, oh my goodness. And you're super happy, and you think this is the best husband ever. You put it in a vase, take it to work, tell all your friends, co-workers are jealous, like, oh my goodness, you have such a good husband. And people, you're like, your heart and your mind is just flying. You're so satisfied with your husband. Hey guys, how's it going? Sky here for s.k.y, and thank you so much for joining us for today's topic. How do we get satisfied in life? Why is it never satisfying all the time? But before we get into this topic, thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first time, go ahead, hit the subscribe, smash that notification bell, like and comment on today's video. We'd really appreciate it, want to hear what you think, but also it feeds the algorithm. All right. So let's get into today's topic, the satisfaction of life, and why is it so hard to stay satisfied? Now, 2 points I'm gonna make, and the first one is a very interesting one. It's very peculiar because we should have learned this by now, but for some reason we keep doing the same mistake over and over again. What's the mistake? It's the, if I get this, if I achieve this, if I win this, if I get this, I'll be satisfied. It's a very weird thing because all throughout life, you've gotten the things that you wanted, and a lot of times after you attain it, you're satisfied for a moment, but after that, you're not satisfied anymore and you want something different. It's like, oh, you know, when you're a kid, if I win the race, I'll be happy, I'll be satisfied. Or if I get straight A's, I'll be satisfied. If I get into Harvard, I'll be satisfied. But guess what, guys? That satisfaction of going to Harvard, it kind of lasts for about a year. And then after a year, what happens? After a year, you don't really care about it. And then the second, third, fourth year, by the time you graduate and you can say, oh, I graduated from Harvard, you're not even thinking about Harvard anymore. You're thinking about, oh man, I need my first job. Oh, if I could just get that job, I'll be satisfied. And once you get the job, if I could just get that position. And once you get it, if I could just get that position. And then if you get that, you're always reaching for something else. Now, how did I get the answer for this? Well, this first answer is very interesting because you guys know I'm a missionary and a pastor in the past, right? Well, I'm still a pastor right now. But when I read the Bible, you read the entire Bible and you see so many times God's like, hey man, it's done. You're over. And you're like, oh, and then life goes on. You're like, what? And then he's like, you're dead. It's done. And you're like, huh? And then life goes on. And if you look at our lives right now too, it's the exact same thing. Our life is 80 to 90 years, right? Life is the entire life. When you say satisfied in life, you're not talking about satisfied for being a 20-year-old. You're talking about life in general. And in this long 80 to 90 years of life, what's happening? You're gonna have these milestones that you really want to achieve. Is it going to define the rest of your life? And the answer is no. That's why some people who have this weird mindset, if they don't get into Harvard, they think their life is over. And the answer is, it's not. Life is not over. If you don't get into the school you want, you don't get the job you want, what? Do you think that's the only job? Do you think that's the only school? Do you think that only people that go to those schools and gets those jobs are going to be happy or satisfied in life? Go to those jobs and you will see that even people working there are not satisfied in their life either. We have to kind of change that mindset and realize that life continues to move on and satisfaction only lasts for a moment, right? That's the first thing we have to get out of our minds because we put too much weight on these specific moments in our life. And if it happens or doesn't happen, we're so disappointed because we weren't as satisfied as we thought we were, or we get so disappointed that we didn't get in there and then we think our life is over. You gotta change that mindset because the thing we have to understand about human beings, the one thing about our mind is what? Is human beings get bored really easily, especially when you do the same thing over and over and over again. It's just the way it is. You can get a job and make $1 million a year doing the same thing. Like imagine it's something super easy doing the same thing over and over and over again. Guess what? After 10 years of that, even though you make $1 million, it's not satisfying. It isn't. We're not going to be like, oh, I love this job because I make $1 million. No, it's like, oh, I'm so bored. I can't stand that. I got to find something else. And this is why people move on from these great jobs or move on from here, move on from there. People who have this mindset, if I just get this, I'll be happy or satisfied. You can tell is when you see someone rich and famous and beautiful commit suicide and see what they say. If they say something like, oh, how could they do that? They should be so satisfied because they have all these things. Then they don't understand how life works. Like, think about it, guys. You could have a really expensive car, but how long does that satisfaction last? It doesn't last long. get the new Mercedes, but you'll be satisfied for what, 6 months? And then after that, you want something else. And this is why we're always reaching for more and more and more and more. It's not because we're greedy. It's just the way our mind works. It's not greed. We realize that we get bored from doing the same thing over and over again. Let me give you this last example for this point. If I get married, right? Marriage is great. And once you hit marriage, you're living together, all these other different things. Imagine that first day. Husband has to go to work early, okay? Husband goes to work earlier than you. You wake up at your time, and when you look next to you, your husband's not there, but he left you a rose. And you're like, oh my goodness. And you're super happy, and you think this is the best husband ever. You put it in a vase, take it to work, tell all your friends. Co-workers are jealous, like, oh my goodness, you have such a good husband. And people, you're like, your heart and your mind is just flying. You're so satisfied with your husband. Second day, another rose. Wow, you take the second rose, now you have 2 roses in the vase, and all your coworkers are even more jealous because you have 2, and then 3, and then 4, then 5. But let's fast forward to day 200. Day 200, you wake up, rose is on your pillow for 200 days straight. Question, do you still have that same satisfaction? Do you still feel it inside like, yes, this is it? No. By that time, it's just another rose. It's routine. There's nothing special about it. And you're gonna start complaining. But on the first rose, probably for the first 10 roses, 15, maybe even 20 roses, there's no complaints. You just think your husband's amazing. But when you hit like 50 and 80 and 100, you start complaining again. Those roses mean nothing anymore. Why? That's how the human mind works. It doesn't stop at just one thing. Life is continuous, which means we always want more and more. Like I said, it's not greed. It's the way the mind works. We want more. The second point I want to make to you is just as interesting, because the second point is human beings, how do we keep satisfaction then? Now we know that we have to keep stretching and reaching for more and more. So how do I remain satisfied? Especially when it comes to relationships. Like if you get married, it's the same woman every day. It's the same man for the next 50 years, right? You go to a job, same desk, same computer, same coworkers all the time. You're like, oh, go to school, same buildings all the time. It's not fresh anymore. So in that situation, when we can't just change everything all the time, how do we keep the satisfaction? And the answer is you need to raise the level. Like raise the level? Let me give you an example with basketball. When I first played basketball, terrible. I was terrible. I sucked. I wasn't very good. Okay? And of course, it was me and my brother. My older brother just beat me down in basketball every single time. I couldn't do anything about it. He was just way better than me. And then I started practicing and I started reaching new levels, right? Newer level of basketball. And it came to a point where I could beat my brother. Okay, so I can beat my brother in basketball now. So what happens to me? I have this satisfaction of beating my brother. But let's just say that it just remains there. It remains there and I just keep beating my brother over and over and over again. Do you think I'm gonna be satisfied forever? No. Eventually, no, I want someone better and I want someone more and I want a bigger challenge. Then I became the school captain. I became like this. And what happens is when you keep raising the level, you keep getting that blast of satisfaction because you've reached a new level, right? It's like video games. Video games are the perfect example. The reason why people play video games so much is because the challenge is not the same thing over and over again. There are 2 things happening in a video game that really work with the human psyche, the human mindset. Number 1 is it's the development of the character. So my character becomes stronger, gets better weapons, becomes better armor, whatever it is. And because you're upgrading yourself, you feel the satisfaction like, yes, I'm level 50. Yes, I'm level 80. The second thing about video game is the levels get harder and harder and they're newer and newer. And every time we beat a boss, we're satisfied like, yes, we beat a boss. And then new challenge and we go to the next one and we keep playing the games for like 5 hours, 7 hours. Haven't you seen these kids do it? The people who made these video games are genius. They understand the human mind. And because they understand it, they know that we want to reach a new level, whether it's with ourselves or whether it's in the environment. And they do both at the same time. You can't change your jobs every day, but you can get better. You can do better things, find out newer ways, do more than you did before, right? You can raise the level of your skill in your job, right? Take new courses, try this or that, like learn new skills on YouTube or something along that line. If I go into that same example when it comes to that wife who had the 200 days of flowers every single day, How would you bring that satisfaction back? Is on day 201, no rose. And you're like, oh, and the woman wakes, the wife wakes up like, oh no, he doesn't love me. And then she goes searching all around the house looking for that rose. Is there a rose? There's gotta be a rose here. There's gotta be a rose. But there's no rose. The wife is a little bit dramatic. And she's like, oh, he doesn't love me. Right? And then she's like sad, all going to the car. And then she gets in the car. She's like, and then she notices something. She looks next to her. And in the passenger seat, there's a teddy bear. A teddy bear with a card on it. Right? And in the card it says, I love you more than 200 roses. And then what happens? Explosion in the heart, and the satisfaction comes back again. She shows off to all her friends, and it's like the most amazing thing. One of the reasons why relationships go sour, whether it's friendships, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, whether it's husbands and wives, is because the level of the relationship, you keep it the same way. And guys are really good at this. Why? Or not just guys, everyone in general, because we like to be comfortable. We don't want to strive for something newer. We don't want to do something more, put more energy in. So we get like, oh, we're married now. Okay, I don't need to dress up. Yeah, just relax. I'm married now. And it's weird, right? Because once we hit that marriage, we go back to the track pants, wearing slippers, right? Wearing shirts with holes in it and stuff. And we don't care. Why? Because it's done. Once I get married, it's done. And that mindset, you have to throw it out. Or else these relationships always go out the window, right? Your work is gonna go out the window. And this is why at work, you wanna get better at your craft. Do more and better and better and better until you get a promotion. And when you get a promotion, satisfaction's there even more. And you keep moving and moving and moving. And this is why a lot of people, after they keep moving up and they have this great mentality to be more and more satisfied with their life, they end up making their own business, trying something even newer, more challenging. Guys, if you want this satisfaction to stay, it is not something where it just comes to you or you reach a level of I am content and satisfied and there's nothing else. You'll never reach that point as long as you're living. As long as you're living, you'll never reach that point. And this is why even rich people get unsatisfied. This is why people who are good looking and famous will never get satisfied either. It's because we have to understand ourselves really well. Number one is you got to get that out of your mind. You can't think that one thing is going to satisfy you for the rest of your life. As long as you live, you always have to reach for something a little bit more. And the second thing is we just talked about now is what? Is if you want to keep that satisfaction, keep raising the level. Do it better. Do it longer. Do it, there's so many other different ways we can do it. Just like this YouTube. I would say that this is so satisfying right now because now I have lights, right? I have a mic. I have a better camera. Right? I have a studio, but I guarantee you there'll come a point I'm gonna be like, I gotta change this. It's not enough. I want to do something different. It's gonna happen no matter what. And it's not because I'm greedy, right? It's because I'm human. And this is how the human mind works. And I think it's a great thing about human beings to never stand still and to push forward and to find more things in life that satisfy us, right? So I really hope that this helps you guys out with understanding the satisfaction of life. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Those of you who are new, once again, if you haven't, go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please, everyone, like and comment below. I really want to hear your feedback. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. It feeds the algorithm. And most importantly, this is the most important one, guys. If you like this content, go ahead and share this. Share this with your friends and family. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining today, and have a good one. See you next time. Bye-bye.